Dragon Ball Daima has come to an end with episode 20, and I think it's safe to say that there's a lot to talk about coming out of this finale. Never before has the official Dragon Ball canon been so savagely beaten to a bloody pulp. Akira Toriyama really, truly did not give a shit. And I'm gonna miss him. So let's get right into the episode recap and analysis for this monumental Dragon Ball Daima finale. Then, after my usual recap, where I'll pepper in some thoughts and observations as we go along, I'll dive deep into the whole issue with canon. What is everyone so angry about? And is the mainline Dragon Ball canon truly broken and unfixable after the events of Daima? We'll also look at the various other controversies and big discussion points coming out of Daima. What did they pay off in this finale? And what did they simply not pay off? I'll give my thoughts on the series overall, what went right and what went wrong, and so much more. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Daima episode 20 had a bit of an irregular format compared to all the other episodes. The OP was skipped entirely as they probably needed every last second of the 24-minute runtime to fit everything in. There were also 2 commercial breaks instead of the usual 1 break with the eye catch, which actually breaks the episode quite neatly into thirds. Let's begin with the first third, which was, simply put, a movie quality ass whooping brought to you by Super Saiyan 4 Goku and an all-star team of animators. Indeed, my wish from last week was fulfilled, and for the last episode of this show, a show that has topped itself again and again with the best looking fights we've ever seen in Dragon Ball history, they've done it once again here in the finale. This fight, which took up the first third of episode 20, is our new champion, the single best looking fight in Dragon Ball TV history. We begin with that cut from Naotoshi Shida that we saw in last week's next episode preview. And if Shida is our appetizer, then you already know there's going to be some crazy shit to follow here in this episode. The episode title this week is Maximum, and that is really appropriate because this fight was maximum hype for its entire 8-minute runtime. Goku starts us off by flexing the hell out of his forearm, powering up, and then taking a moment to prepare himself for the utter insanity that is to come. He rushes towards Gomah, and to start this shit off, Goku delivers quite possibly the greatest punch to the face in cinematic history. I mean, this just looked absolutely incredible. The amount of motion here is staggering. Shida went off. His scene wasn't super long this episode, but they asked for a punch to the face, and boy did he deliver a punch to the face. This is peak, my friends. This is peak. The Super Saiyan 4 Goku vs. Gomah fight overall felt like a series of sprints. The general template here is our fighters take a breath, then rush at each other with a flurry of attacks, then they take another breath, and we rinse and repeat. I see no problems with this, especially when you have animation gods putting together all of this great action. The first sprint begins after Goku's big punch to the face. The camera rotates as Goku and Gomah exchange strikes. It's here that we could clearly see Super Saiyan 4 Goku, even as an adult, absolutely retains those big boy hands. I mean, those fists are bigger than his head. My god. You think he could palm a basketball or what? Now, there's only so many ways I could say this fight looks great in a review video like this, so really, you just have to watch it for yourself. It looks absolutely incredible from start to finish, delivering to perfection the fast-paced and hard-hitting action you'd expect from a great Dragon Ball fight. All of the artists and animators did such a tremendous job here, somehow finding a way to top all of the great fights in Daima that have come before it. I'm so happy they were able to wrap up the series with a final boss fight that is the best looking of them all. I've already watched it 5 times preparing for this video, and it was exciting every single time. I think it's an instant classic that we're all going to come back to again and again. The first sprint ends with a few punches to the gut from Goku, at which point Gomah uses the third eye to blow Goku away and power up. Now he's able to stop some of Goku's strikes and fire back an attack of his own. He summons his wand somehow and proceeds to put Goku into a bullet hell game. Then Goku flexes the shit out of his chest and goes for a big bear hug. Once again, Gomah is able to blow him away, and it's at this point that Goku goes full Sonic as he lands. Look, Sonic famously ripped off Dragon Ball, so it's only fair that Dragon Ball gets to rip off Sonic now too. You roll up into that ball if you want to, Goku. You've earned it. The fight continues with Goku and Gomah exchanging blows back and forth. Then, Gomah grabs Goku and throws him through the ground into what looks like a mine below the first demon world. To me, it's reminiscent of that scene from DBS Broly where they get trapped in that trippy void for a little bit and fight in there. It's a nice little break from the red skies of the first demon world. I like all the crazy colors they went with here. They return to the surface and the madness continues. Goku beats the piss out of Gomah, zipping and teleporting all around as he lands these powerful giant strikes. He even manages to perform the Mario 64 Bowser throw, which is rad. I really like how Super Saiyan 4 is portrayed during this fight. Goku is a relentless monster in this form. He hardly says a word at all. He's just out there throwing bombs non-stop as Masako Nozawa screams her lungs out. It's awesome. Then the hand goes up, and what follows is the most spectacular sequence of the entire episode. A moment that immediately became one of my favorites in all of Daima. First, Goku powers up in a scene with straight up movie quality animation, gathering all of his strength to fire off the biggest Kamehameha of all time. In an episode with countless beautiful moments, this might actually be the best of them all. The whole thing is stunning from start to finish. From the very first frame here, the close-up on Goku's hand, to the end, where we zoom way the hell out to this full shot of the entire battlefield. It is so incredibly well done. Goku then charges up the Kamehameha, and it all culminates with the money shot to end all money shots. He fires off the blast, and this shot right here is a clear homage to that beautiful artwork by Akira Toriyama. You know the one. That one. He drew this shit in 1990 for a cover of Weekly Jump. This piece is 35 years old, and it hasn't aged a second. Just god-tier artwork from Toriyama in his prime. And here it is, reproduced to perfection here in Daima, with Super Saiyan 4 Goku firing off a massive Kamehameha of his own. What a wonderful choice to directly reference such a gorgeous piece of Toriyama artwork for this huge, culminating moment. They truly went all out this episode. Goku lets the Kamehameha rip, and I really love the use of red and blue here. I definitely got those GT vibes while watching, and in this case, that's actually a good thing because that shit just works with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. This Kamehameha absolutely rules. It's one of the best we've seen in Dragon Ball history, and the end result of the blast is incredible as well. The monster of a beam pierces through Gomah's belly like he's goddamn Super 17. All we needed was the Ryuken Bakuhatsu, and we'd really be cooking. But I'm sure they're saving that one for another time. Not only does it cut clean through Gomah's midsection, it keeps on going and blows a hole through not one, not two, but all three demon worlds. I mean, if that's not Goku's greatest Kamehameha ever, I'm not sure what is. He's had a lot of great ones over the years, no doubt. But this shit blew holes through worlds. I mean, goddamn. At the very least, it's my favorite Kamehameha of the modern era, topping that incredible moment from the Tournament of Power. They could not have nailed this any harder. This is the big moment. Super Saiyan 4 Goku landing what is essentially the finishing blow on the final boss. The big, climactic Super Saiyan 4 Kamehameha. It had to be huge. It had to be epic. And boy, did they deliver on something epic. Unlike, I don't know, the last time Super Saiyan 4 landed the finishing blow on a final boss? Remember that shitty Kamehameha that killed Baby? Talk about a contrast in execution. It's the same move, but poor execution can make it totally lame. The GT version has Goku sniping a guy from a distance as he's trying to get away in his spaceship. Compare that to the Daima version, which has Goku shooting a beam so ridiculously huge and powerful that it pierces through the enemy and then goes on to pierce the walls between 3 separate worlds. It's beautiful. It's perfect. The battle with Gomah and the first third of this final episode of Daima ends with the remnants of the Kamehameha glowing on Goku's fingertips. This is incredible. What a way to end the best looking fight ever seen in a Dragon Ball TV show. I'm just blown away. Blown away like the walls between those worlds. Blown away like Gomah's midsection. I'm simply blown away. With Gomah in a weakened and vulnerable state, Piccolo takes his chance now to get in there and hit the final boss's weak point 3 times. He nails him in the back of the head once, twice, but sadly, our boy only manages 2 hits before getting smacked aside. So close, Piccolo. So close to doing something here in Dragon Ball Daima. At least you flew into that tree back in episode 2. I laughed so damn hard at that. That was awesome. Predictably, Swole Gomah once again uses the third eye to heal and blow everyone away. This is looking bad for our heroes. Real bad. I mean, they're screwed. If Super Saiyan 4 adult Goku couldn't stop this monster, who can? Who is greater than a Super Saiyan 4? Well, there's only one correct answer. And it's none other than the GOAT, Majin Buu. The undisputed MVP of Daima finds himself at the right place at the right time. He smacks Gomah from behind 3 times with that big old book and knocks the legendary evil third eye out of his head. Honestly, we should have known Buu would be our savior. If this isn't a Toriyama-style twist, then I don't know what is. Buu got to have his own Yajirobe moment, and I loved it so much. Gomah is defeated once and for all, reverting back to his regular little tiny form. Glorio then crushes that legendary evil third eye in the most epic scene of the entire show, easily topping even the Super Saiyan 4 Kamehameha. Everyone takes a second to absorb the insanity that just happened, and then they all run over to congratulate and thank the goodest boy. Even Arinsu gives her son a little elbow for good luck. They play a beautiful orchestrated version of Jaka-Jan over this scene, and it damn near brought a tear to my eye. These last few episodes have really sold me on the Daima soundtrack. In fact, I already have my shit pre-ordered. Yes, I'm buying a CD in the year 2025. That's what Dragon Ball hype does to me. It makes me do crazy, downright irresponsible things. Gomah is all tied up as he awaits his punishment. He gives Neva a bunch of shit for pretending to be senile. Hey, that reminds me, whatever happened to that big mom machine? The machine where they were stealing life from the people of the third demon world? That sure went nowhere. I thought they were gonna de-age Neva that way. Did those poor people end up getting their life back? Hello? Goku? Little help here? I'm so old now. Anyways, Marba and Arinsu seal Gomah and Dagesu in this jar, Mafuba style. He's sentenced to 100 years in this prison, which kinda seems a little harsh to me. These jerks at least have the decency to knock some time off for good behavior and make it only 99 years. After all, he didn't even kill Dende after kidnapping him. In fact, I don't think he killed anyone. Did the Demon King Gomah actually kill anyone in this series? Did he kill someone and I forgot? Like, he's hardly a villain. He didn't even do anything evil outside of turning our heroes into kids, which barely qualifies as evil. Now that the third eye is gone, Gomah is practically harmless. I can't say I'm sitting here overjoyed that they're about to get sealed up for a century. You never really wanted to see them get any comeuppance because they never really did any bad things to our main cast. Wait a minute, I just realized something. If they get out of that jar in 99 years, maybe they can emerge and fight Grandma Pan and Goku Jr. The timelines just about match up. Think about it. Thankfully, their punishment doesn't seem quite as cruel as I'm making it out to be. It's like a little apartment for the both of them in there. They even got video games. I mean, I could definitely use 100 years to clear out my backlog right about now, and probably still not finish everything. That actually looks nice and cozy. I guess it's really not so bad. With the Demon King now sealed, the time has come to appoint a successor. Kaioshin nominates his sister, as she at least has a sliver of a conscience. Buddy, you know she tried to get the witch lady here to make her 2 Majin Buu clones, right? Remember Majin Buu? Arinsu is like Bobbity on crack. Well, regardless, she refuses the role. Without a boost in power from the Dragon Balls, powerful beings will just overthrow her if she were to take the job. So Neva chimes in. He informs the group that the new Demon King is whoever defeated the prior Demon King. You know what that means. Indeed, Majin Ku is the new Demon King. All hail Ku Daimao. You were so close, Piccolo. You could have been Daimao. Again. Instead, it's the goodest boy who will rule over all the land. But wait, Ku isn't that strong, right? So aren't people gonna overthrow him? Well, he does have his brother who is ridiculously powerful and can defend him. But then why doesn't Arinsu just take the role and have Duu protect her? And can't they just go out and find the Demon Realm Dragon Balls anyways? And get Arinsu her wish? Who's gonna defeat Duu? The guy who beat Tamagami #1. You know what I think? I think this calls for Daima Season 2, starring Majin Ku. Let's make it happen, Toei. This whole outcome with Ku becoming Demon King is actually super sweet. Toriyama always rewards virtue and goodness and purity in his stories. When you take that into consideration, it actually makes sense that someone as pure as Ku ends up becoming the king in the end. A genuinely kind and good dude with a childlike innocence gets to be the king. It's kinda awesome. Ku chooses Arinsu to be his vice supreme Demon King and hires everyone else in the immediate vicinity to be his ministers, including Neva, Marba, Glorio, and Kadan. Everyone except Hibis. Hibis gets nothing, but at least he still has his hat. He even invites our heroes to become ministers, but Goku refuses. They gotta go home. Battle of Gods has to happen and we've got some shit to take care of first. We still have to fit a whole new interquel in there to make sense of everything that happens in this show. How else are we gonna explain Goku having Super Saiyan 4, but never using it again? Well, nonetheless, God Emperor Ku rules over the people of the Demon Realm with his cool cape. Piccolo approves of the new Daimao, and that is that. We cut over to Kadan's castle, where our crew is ready to head back home. Pansy actually delivers the Magilite she promised to Bulma a few episodes ago. She jacked it all from Gomah's castle. I find it interesting they actually paid this one off and felt this scene was needed in the ending here. It's probably a really bad idea to try and speculate about future Dragon Ball stories, but maybe this will come into play sometime down the road? I mean, why else is it in here? You figure Bulma's gonna use it eventually, right? Possibly? Or they forget about it entirely and it's never mentioned again. We then get a scene that I could probably make a whole separate video on, as it is absolutely loaded with craziness. Vegeta is pissed that Goku was hiding Super Saiyan 4 from him. This coming mere months after Goku was hiding Super Saiyan 3 from him. Goku's kinda an asshole. He acts like this innocent hillbilly, but he's steady hiding that new tech from Vegeta. He doesn't want him to catch up. So this is the scene that has everyone talking, because the implication here is that Goku already achieved Super Saiyan 4 before the events of Daima even took place. This is definitely causing some confusion, as I think a lot of us interpreted this scene in episode 18, where it looks like Neva shoots Goku up with some special magic demon power, as Neva unlocking the form for Goku. We all figured this was Goku using it for the very first time. But now, after this scene here in episode 20, it turns out Goku could do it all along. So then what was this scene exactly? Did he just heal him? Like Dende style? Did he draw out his potential like the Grand Elder? Or is it something else entirely that we've never seen before? You know, you guys could explain this stuff. Just one line of dialogue would do, and it would prevent a lot of arguments. Goku says he trained super hard after Buu's defeat, so it seems Super Saiyan 4 is achieved simply through training, like all the other forms for Goku since Super Saiyan 1. I honestly don't know if I like this or not. I think I need some more time to reflect on it. I kinda liked that GT had this unique way to unlock the form, different from anything else. But what we see in Daima is just in line with what came before. I gotta say, I prefer training to Neva just coming in and basically gifting Goku the power. Neva was like a walking, talking Brute's Wave machine in this scene. Also, I thought Goku had to train his ass off in the afterlife over many years to attain Super Saiyan 3. It's only been a few months since Buu was defeated. Did he really get Super Saiyan 4 that quickly? Was he really training that hard after beating Buu during peacetime? Training so hard that he unlocked a new form of Super Saiyan? God damn, Goku must be an absolute beast with his training. Anyways, Goku rubs it all in by acknowledging Vegeta at least managed to get Super Saiyan 3. Isn't that just adorable? Super Saiyan 3. Good job, buddy. Of course, this just pisses Vegeta off even more. He doesn't even want to use the name Goku gave to the form. He's gonna call it Ultra Vegeta 1. I wonder if the Toei, Shueisha, Bandai Namco branding team had a word with Mr. Vegeta after this. I guess we'll see if it's called Ultra Vegeta 1 in the Sparking Zero DLC. Somehow I doubt it. Also, speaking of names, Goku officially calls his new form Super Saiyan 4, if there was any doubt. Super Saiyan 4 is canon-ish. What does canon even mean at this point? We'll get into it, don't worry. Let's just wrap up this episode recap first. Neva then gets to have a nice little moment with Dende and Piccolo. He's waited a pretty long time for some other Namekians to come visit him back in the Demon Realm. This is almost like a dream come true for him, but of course Dende and Piccolo have duties elsewhere, so they're not able to stay. However, they're going to tell the Nomads who escaped Planet Namek when it got blown up that there's a perfectly good Demon Realm Planet Namek they can move to that's totally empty, and real estate prices are probably really low there too. Neva thinks that's a wonderful idea, and he'll continue to wait until the day finally comes when some Namekians return back to their original home. I think that's a cool idea that could be explored. Now that the Demon Realm doesn't have an asshole as their king, maybe the Namekians and Glins and possibly other races will return back to live there. Also, this music playing in the background is too good. Jaka-John, you're too good. I hope we can revisit the Demon Realm someday. It feels like a setting Toyotaro can really have some fun with. There's so much potential to expand the Demon Realm and the Dragon Ball universe as a whole even further. So much of it remains unexplored after the mere 20 episodes we got to spend here. We got to come back and check in on Glorio, Arinsu, Pansy, and of course, Ku and Duu. We need more Ku and Duu. This can't be the end. Give someone a Ku and Duu spin-off manga, please. Funnily enough, Goku's big-ass Kamehameha that tore a giant hole through the entire Demon Realm was actually a very kind deed. It formed a new tunnel between each world, easily accessible for the people of the Demon Realm. The wind from the tunnel is pushing the gas up and making the air in the third world lighter compared to before. So now everyone can fly. I always like to see Goku leaving a place in a better state than it was when he arrived. I think the only thing missing here is a bit more fleshing out of the average people living in the Demon Realm. I'll get into it more later in the video when I look back at the entire series as a whole, but this is a circumstance where I think the 20 episode runtime really worked against the story. There simply wasn't enough time to have little mini adventures in random towns and villages where Goku gets to meet new people and help them out, make new friends. I think this scene would be a lot more satisfying if we got to know one or two of these characters and they had a name. We could have had an episode where Gomah is taking over a town and polluting their water supply. We get to know the people, their names, and Goku helps them out, ultimately purifying their water and saving the town. It makes us hate Gomah more and gives us a better relationship with the people of the Demon Realm. Maybe Goku could save a brittle old man from some bandits, and now that the air is light again, maybe we see him at the end here with his strength back, flying around with his granddaughter. I don't know, little stuff like that. It's missing. Like, remember at the end of Z, when everyone was giving their energy to Goku? And there were all those cameos from people Goku helped over the course of the story? That was awesome. But there's not really a way to do that here because we simply didn't have the time to go out and meet these people. Everyone in this shot is just random unnamed residents of the Demon Realm. I really do wish we could have fleshed out this world even more with a longer episode count. Ku kindly asks our departing heroes to come back if things get hairy again. This definitely leaves the door open for a return to the Demon Realm in the future. I'm sure the ideas are bouncing around in Toyotaro's brain as we speak. Our heroes fly off, waving goodbye to their new friends. Zed plays, And that's a wrap on Dragon Ball Daima. It was already bittersweet, but then comes the final gut punch. As all our heroes wave goodbye and fly off into the distance, the first credit appears on the screen for the original creator, Akira Toriyama. This episode aired on February 28th, 2025, a day before the 1-year anniversary of Toriyama's passing. It's obviously just a scary coincidence, but nonetheless, his passing was absolutely on my mind as I was watching this. They really ended this show with everyone waving goodbye as Toriyama's name appeared on the screen. It's so sad. So sad, but so perfect. The very definition of bittersweet. Given the real-life circumstances, this ending definitely hits different, and it hurts. Alongside the credits, we see some nice artwork of all of our characters from the Demon Realm, from Earth, and from inside that jar. Seriously, this looks pretty spacious. We get some cute and charming shots of our main cast back in their regular bodies. Just about everyone pops up, except for Gohan. Bro was erased from existence in this show. We don't see Gohan and Videl one single time. They couldn't even get a still picture during the credits. Just show them on a cute date. Honestly, their absence just made me laugh. Why do they hate Gohan so much? The credits roll, and then we're greeted with a brief post-credit scene. And what a post-credit scene it is. Goku asked Lero if they could go visit the shop from earlier that sold them the Medibugs, which is hilarious. Just in case you forgot to rage about the fusion bugs never being used, here's a blatant, explicit reminder for everyone right at the end here. Goku wants some revive bugs since they're running low on Senzu beans back on Earth. Also, Bulma can't stand her disgusting 42-year-old billionaire supermodel skin. She wants to have the skin of a 12-year-old again. They arrive at the cute little teapot shop, and as you watch this, it becomes clear pretty quickly that something is different. Something is special about this. This looks good. It looks too good. Why does this look so good? Why is the character movement so fluid? What is going on here? Well, it turns out this entire post-credit scene at the shop here is animated by the living, breathing god known as Takashi Kojima. This is actually the first time Kojima has ever worked on Dragon Ball. Now, in case you don't recognize that name, Takashi Kojima does have quite the reputation in animation, specifically thanks to his work on One Piece. All I could say is look up Takashi Kojima's scenes in One Piece, because this man has literally given us the greatest scenes in One Piece ever. That is not an exaggeration. Just go out of your way and take a look at some of his work on One Piece. Even if you have no interest at all in One Piece, I promise you, it will blow you away. Simply put, Kojima is an absolute madman, and these stills here really don't do his work justice. I'd show it to you in motion, but, you know, Toei would give me a copyright strike, as I gush over their product like an absolute fanboy. Anyways, for some reason that I can't even begin to understand, they got this absolute legend, this guy who is behind the greatest, most over-the-top action scenes in One Piece history, to animate this totally unimportant post-credits gag where our cast is standing around in a tiny shop looking at things on a shelf. This is so absurd that I actually love it. I mean, my god, you have never seen such a rich portrayal of people standing around in a tiny shop looking at things on a shelf. This looks absolutely incredible from start to finish. I wish I could show it to you in motion, but the Toei cops will murder me if I do so. I hope the screen caps get across just how wonderful and amusing this scene truly is. Bulma especially is just so fluid and expressive, it's ridiculous. Bulma has to be Kojima's favorite Dragon Ball character. This is actually movie quality. Not even close to movie quality. It's actually movie quality. I've already seen some people calling this the best animated scene in Dragon Ball ever. And technically speaking, that might actually be accurate. I mean, Bulma's frightened reaction to this bug is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. In an episode where Super Saiyan 4 adult Goku has his first fight in official canon against the final boss of the series, a fight that featured work from several animation all-stars, somehow the scene in a tiny shop where Bulma is scared of the bug looks best of all. A gag scene. It's honestly like a meta gag in itself. They get this god to animate such a silly and unimportant scene. Again, I really love it. Even if those over-the-top epic action scenes are the ones that get all the headlines, Kojima is also unbelievable when it comes to character acting. He's shown off that heavy, lifelike movement before, and boy was it on display here in this scene. They did not have to cook this hard, at all. Anyways, the clerk lady explains how the bugs work, including the butte bugs that will keep your skin looking young. Of course, this is what Bulma wants and needs. She'll take all of them, the whole barrel. This also breaks canon, horribly. But if there's one thing Toriyama loves far more than keeping canon intact, it's that gag of Bulma being paranoid about how she looks as she ages. He has come back to that one again and again and again. Hey look, maybe she runs out of them at some point and starts to age again. Maybe she shared her stash with Chi-Chi and her other friends. Or maybe Buu ate them all. Wait, maybe Goten and Trunks ate them and that's why they look so damn little all the time. There, that's it, that's the headcanon. This is fine everyone, totally fine. Doesn't break canon at all, it's all good. Pansy takes a look around and finds an old, dusty jar. She blows away the dust to find 2 eyeballs. The clerk explains that they're called evil third eyes and they give you tremendous strength if you put it on your head. And there it is. You get your classic anime reaction to your classic Toriyama gag. The big bad legendary evil third eye that not even Super Saiyan 4 Goku could defeat was really just some piece of junk from a shop, and there's probably a whole bunch of them out there. The end. I don't think this show could have had a more perfect ending. Akira Toriyama was a gag manga artist. He always was. With Dragon Ball Daima, Toriyama wrote a comedy first and an action show second. We really saw him go back to his gag manga roots here with characters like Hibis and Ku. We also had all those awesome Vegeta jokes, and finally, this ending, making a complete mockery of the epic fight we just watched over the course of the final 4 episodes. I love these comedic endings, which we've seen before in modern Dragon Ball with Resurrection F and Superhero. This is probably the best one of all. It's simply delightful and a perfect way to end this show. Dragon Ball Daima was wonderful in so many ways. I was laughing as the show came to an end, but at the same time, I was sad. Sad because it was over, but also because of the uncertainty for this franchise going forward. After watching this show, I'm certainly not worried about how Dragon Ball will look in the future. We've seen plenty of talented people show time and time again that they can replicate Toriyama's unique art style to perfection. After watching Daima, I don't worry about the action or the animation or even the storytelling really. Above all else, I worry that the silliness, the gags, the comedy, this might be something that cannot be replicated now that Toriyama is no longer writing the story. It's the silly stuff that really shows off that Toriyama magic and charm, and I feel that just might be irreplaceable. The absolutely wacky shit that no one would ever predict in a million years, because that's just his one-of-a-kind, wild sense of humor. Would Toyotaro have the balls to end an arc like this? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. That's it. That's a wrap. In a vacuum, episode 20 of Daima was simply brilliant. The fight was exciting, the animation was beautiful, and it was completely hilarious for that entire second half. I really couldn't ask for more. That Toriyama spirit, that humor, it was all on display. But, of course, it's hard to just look at this one episode in a vacuum. It's impossible. This episode did a lot of things. It made me happy, it made me sad, and it so badly killed any kind of consistent canon Dragon Ball was clinging onto. So now, it's time to talk about it. Coming out of this episode and Daima as a whole, there are some very obvious major discussion topics. But the biggest of all by far is the canon discussion. People have been arguing about Dragon Ball's canon for as long as I can remember, and the ending to Daima here was like pouring gas on that fire. Until now, Dragon Ball's main canon has generally hinged on the involvement of one man, Akira Toriyama. If he's involved in the writing of the story, it's canon. If he's not, it's non-canon. Simple as that. Toriyama was heavily involved in the making of Dragon Ball Daima, right? So, of course, this story is canon. It's a direct sequel to DBZ and a prequel to Dragon Ball Super. It's an interquel. It fits right in there between the Buu saga and the events of Battle of Gods. Now, by doing an interquel, you also have to play by some rules. You're not only writing the follow-up to an established story, you're also writing the prequel to another established story. In the end, you're quite handcuffed by what you can and cannot do. Unless you're Akira Toriyama. If you're Akira Toriyama, you do whatever the hell you want. Here in Daima, we see Kaioshin and Kibito defuse, which breaks canon. Then, Vegeta shows off Super Saiyan 3, and of course, Goku is a Super Saiyan 4 now. Simply put, people were expecting a lot of answers going into this final episode of Daima. A way to make this all make sense when you take the events of Super into consideration. And in all honesty, we didn't really get any answers at all. A few weeks ago, I speculated on how they could possibly pull this off, throwing out some theories that have been posed by many. Maybe there's a mind wipe and everything restarts to a previous point. Maybe Neva uses his spooky magic to undo all the events of Daima. Maybe it's revealed this is an alternate universe separate from Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Super, and we really get the whole multiverse thing going in the main Dragon Ball story. Then, of course, there's the scenario I think a lot of people are not okay with, but was probably the case all along. It's Akira Toriyama. He's just not thinking that hard about this shit. He's writing totally in the moment and doesn't care if this story isn't consistent with later events. For all we know, he forgot Battle of Gods even happened. He forgot that Vegeta snapped in that movie. He forgot that Goku was going all out against his most powerful opponent yet, and probably would have busted out the old Super Saiyan 4 if he had it in his back pocket. Now, despite doing, I think, a pretty good job keeping everything mostly plausible in that span of time between Buu and the end of Z, with Daima, Toriyama just obliterates everything we've ever known and ever believed. There's just no way to rationalize Goku having Super Saiyan 4 all this time and not using it in Dragon Ball Super. I think going into this episode, the assumption was that Goku maybe needed Neva's special power to achieve the form. Maybe it's only usable in the demon realm. But no, Goku makes it abundantly clear that he just trained really hard, and that's how he achieved the form. At some point off screen, just like Super Saiyan 3. Now, while I always figured Super Saiyan 4 wasn't going to be a one-time thing locked behind Neva's magic, this revelation really pissed people off, as it is now damn near impossible to fit it into the canon we all know. So, where could we possibly go from here? Do we just throw our hands up and accept that this whole timeline is a mess? Nothing really makes sense, and we'll simply have to pretend that Goku never used Super Saiyan 4 ever again because he, I don't know, didn't feel like it? It's obviously a hard pill to swallow just thinking logically. It's not even really nitpicking, it's simple storytelling logic. Can we possibly make any sense out of this difficult spot that Daima has left us in? Well, believe it or not, I do think there are some options here. The very first thing I thought of was another interquel. That's right, let the wild ride continue. Cancel out the crazy with something even more crazy. According to the greater timeline, Daima takes place in age 775, months after the events of the Buu saga. Battle of Gods takes place in age 778, which means there's about a 3-year span there where Toyotaro can cook like he's never cooked before. I don't know how they'd be able to pull this off, but perhaps something happens during this 3-year span of time that causes Vegeta to never use Super Saiyan 3 again, and Goku to never use Super Saiyan 4 again. It's totally goofy to even consider such a thing, but if they want things to stay consistent with Super, that's really the only way to do it. Honestly, as silly as it sounds, I like the idea that Goku and Vegeta are sparring one day. One thing leads to another, and they start to argue like we saw here in Daima. Then, for some reason that I'll leave up to the brilliant writers in the Dragon Ball room, the two Saiyans take some kind of blood oath, promising to never use Super Saiyan 3 for Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 for Goku ever again, no matter what. There. That's the only way this can possibly make sense. Vegeta would never break a blood oath with Kakarot, even if his wife got smacked around by Beerus. There is another option here that I imagine wouldn't be very popular if it ended up being the case. The events of Daima may just be treated like one of the movies. I'm talking about the older movies, where you can roughly place them somewhere on the timeline, but then if you think about it a little bit harder, you realize most of these movies couldn't possibly fit into the canon. So ultimately, it's filler. It's not a part of the main continuity. A non-canon continuation of DBZ, and indeed, non-canon Dragon Ball material written by Akira Toriyama. I know, it's almost sacrilegious even saying something so cursed. Now, that would solve the whole issue of Dragon Ball Super never acknowledging anything that happened in Daima. But there's still a big problem here. I have to imagine they want to bring Super Saiyan 4 back one day. I mean, why else would they introduce the form here in Daima just to never use it again? Like, Vegeta has to learn it too, and Broly, and probably all the other Saiyans eventually. There are toys to sell here. So many toys to sell. So this is the tough part. Assuming Daima is a part of the main canon, how can you possibly reintroduce Super Saiyan 4 when we inevitably pick the story back up after the events of Super Hero? I think this is the truly difficult part, especially when you consider we have Super Saiyan God and Blue and Ultra Instinct, which presumably are more powerful than this version of Super Saiyan 4. It makes my head spin just trying to imagine it, but something would have to happen after Daima, but before Super, where Goku and Vegeta lose access to these forms, and then only through some future events after Super Hero do they remember they have them, or gain access to them again? I mean, that has to be the end goal here, right? To take the important bits from Daima and carry them forward to whatever comes next in the story. And also, sell a whole lot of toys. There's another option I've seen floated around. Daima is a reboot of sorts. Going forward, the events of Super are wiped away, and whatever comes next in the main story picks right up after the events of Daima. Goku has Super Saiyan 4, and we proceed from there. While that would be an easy way to proceed, I have a really hard time believing they'd just flush 10 years worth of Super material down the toilet just to make Daima make sense. Now, there is a way to have Daima act as a reboot without ignoring the events of Super, and that would be by introducing that multiverse into the main story. Perhaps to put an end to this whole canon and non-canon craziness once and for all, it's officially established in the main story that there are many simultaneous timelines in the Dragon Ball universe. Goku killing Majin Buu with that spirit bomb marked a pivotal moment in the story. Kind of like those Nexus events in the MCU, where something super important happens and at that point the timeline branches out, creating new alternate universes. Or maybe like the Zelda timeline, where everything splits at the end of Ocarina of Time. Something like this coming to Dragon Ball would solve the whole issue of canon versus non-canon. Everything becomes canon, but they're just separated into a bunch of alternate universes. One continuity is all peacetime from the end of Buu all the way to the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai, until eventually, Pilaf steals the Black Star Dragon Balls and wishes for Goku to turn into a kid, where the events of GT take place. In this timeline, the events of Dragon Ball Super and Daima simply don't happen. In another timeline, the events of Super take place. In another timeline, the events of the Super manga take place. And finally, there's the timeline where Daima takes place, and Beerus never comes down to Earth. Is it messy? You bet. But if the MCU can do it, the most mainstream thing in all of fiction, I wouldn't be shocked if Dragon Ball took a stab at it too, in a feeble, desperate attempt to make sense out of a bunch of silliness that Toriyama never thought about for a single second. Simply put, a multiverse is the outcome that probably makes Shueisha, Toei, and Bandai Namco the happiest. This way, everything counts. Everything is important. Nothing is labeled as non-canon or filler. They just take place in another universe. It's still important. Please buy our merch. I can totally see them implementing a Marvel-esque multiverse going forward. As goofy and silly as this all is, Dragon Ball is goofy and silly. Toriyama himself introduced time travel. Toriyama introduced the whole 12 universes thing. So to pivot over to a multiverse where there are several different versions of Goku and all the events of the story play out differently, it wouldn't be that much of a stretch. We kinda already have it with the Future Trunks timeline where Goku dies and everything goes to shit. Why can't Daima just be its own timeline in a similar fashion? Finally, I'll propose the scenario you probably want to see least of all. Vegeta didn't use Super Saiyan 3 here because he just didn't. Goku never uses Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus because he just doesn't. There's no explanation given. There's no logical reason for either of them to hold those forms back during Battle of Gods, but they do. And then, when we pick the story back up after Superhero, all of a sudden Goku is busting out the Super Saiyan 4 again like it's no big deal. I can absolutely see this happening. Not even an attempt is made to connect everything together, and you just have to suspend the shit out of your disbelief and accept that this is Dragon Ball and things don't make sense sometimes. Simply put, whatever comes next in Dragon Ball, whether it's a new movie, a new TV show, or a new chapter of the Super manga, how the events of Daima will be incorporated is going to be the big thing to watch. I know there's a lot of anger coming out of this Daima finale, but personally, I'm morbidly curious to see how they try to get themselves out of this mess. That is, if they even try at all. Goku's totally gonna use Super Saiyan 4 in the next chapter of Super, isn't he? The next major discussion point coming out of episode 20 is fusion, or lack thereof. People are really pissed that they seem to set up the fusion bugs and then never actually end up using them. I will fully admit that as soon as I saw that join bug introduced, I thought fusion was coming for sure. There are toys to sell, and a Goku and Vegeta fusion is big money. However, it never actually happened. The join bug, ultimately, was a red herring. A lot of people are furious about this and left asking the question, why would you introduce and put focus on a fusion bug if you're not gonna do fusion? Well, here's the thing. As much as I thought fusion would happen, and as much as I wanted it to happen, now that the series is over, I'm not actually mad that it didn't happen. In fact, I'm actually laughing. This was a legit misdirect. Toriyama the Master does it again. As soon as that fuse bug appeared, everyone thought they had it all figured out. Instead, Toriyama put that there for one reason and one reason only: to mess with us, to subvert our expectations. Now, sometimes subverting expectations is a bad thing. I mean, fusion is cool. If you're gonna tease fusion and ultimately not do it, you better have something awesome in store for us instead. Something even more interesting and more entertaining. And to me, they absolutely delivered on that. We got Canon Super Saiyan 4 as the big final reveal in Daima, a moment 28 years in the making. To me, that is absolutely a worthy replacement for fusion. After last week's mind-blowing transformation scene, I wanted to see Super Saiyan 4 this episode and nothing else. I didn't need fusion taking up any of that precious time. Maybe if the show wasn't confined to a mere 20 episodes, we could have fit fusion in there too, but with the way things are, it just didn't make sense. It would make a rushed final episode feel even more rushed if they tried to jam fusion in there too. Toriyama's version of Super Saiyan 4 Goku is so huge, seeing it in all its glory, animated to perfection, was enough to satisfy me. Daima simply didn't need fusion. Somehow I ended up being too cynical going into the finale there. A third fusion of Goku and Vegeta would sell toys and DLC like hotcakes, but they actually showed some restraint. I'm actually happy they did this. I'm proud of them. Now they're limited to selling Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Mini, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku Mini. Over and over and over. There's so much Super Saiyan 4 merch. It's only been days since the final episode aired, and it's already everywhere. Truly, this show was made to sell Super Saiyan 4 merch, and they're gonna make the budget of this show back tenfold just from the merch sales alone. Never again wonder why there's a new fusion or form introduced in every new piece of Dragon Ball media. This is never gonna stop. Outside of fusion, there were some other things that were set up in Daima that weren't really paid off. Keep in mind, this is just off the top of my head, coming out of episode 20. I'm sure if I went back to rewatch the entire show, some more would come to mind, but the big one that jumps out at me is Neva not being evil. He really was just a nice little old man the whole time. All those little teases where they made him look all spooky amounted to nothing. Hey, since he's a good guy, can they borrow him sometimes? If they ever want to collect all the Dragon Balls in 2 seconds and also make them usable again without waiting? Boy, could that ability come in handy for our heroes. The other big one that jumped out at me was Majin Duu. He really was just an innocent, nice little boy. Despite the teases, he didn't lose his mind and become evil. I wonder how many centimeters deep you need to bury that Saibai-Man seed to create a demon that is actually evil and crazy. And not an innocent little boy? Because we got 2 of those in this show. I think Marba is another character that Toyotaro can easily come back to at some point in the future if they're ever in need of another powerful villain. There's one last thing I don't think they paid off very well as we reflect on Daima's ending here. Maybe it's less of a payoff and more just the answer to a question. A pretty logical question, I think. I posed it at the very beginning of the series. Why did they turn into kids? No, seriously, why? Was there any real reason to do this outside of it being an homage to Dragon Ball GT? I don't think we really got an answer. Is it because kids equals fun and adventure, and adults are too serious? Is that really it? After watching episode 20, I feel like not a single thing about this show changes if all of our characters were simply adults the whole time instead of kids. I know the show tells us that our heroes are all weaker in these kid bodies, but ultimately, when did that actually affect them in any kind of negative way? Goku and Vegeta both beat their powerful Tamagami opponents with relative ease as kids. Goku didn't even have to use Super Saiyan 3, and Vegeta whooped him as soon as he transformed. Clearly, they're strong as shit, even as kids. Turning them into kids didn't really nerf them in any tangible way, so why even bother? Then there's the fight with Gomah, which we literally see that it didn't matter at all whether they were adults or kids. Gomah was invincible with that eye no matter who he was fighting, even Super Saiyan 4 adult Goku. There was never any real drawback to them becoming kids, no real tension. You never got the feeling that any of them could lose a fight, let alone get killed by a powerful opponent. So again I ask, why did they have to turn back into kids? If you want to nerf them, then nerf them. There would actually be some tension if suddenly none of the Saiyans could use Super Saiyan. Or maybe the air is so heavy in the demon realm that they can't fly, but their Tamagami opponents are used to it and they have the advantage. Instead of them just transforming and completely kicking their ass with ease, If Goku could turn into a Super Saiyan 4 as a kid, is he really nerfed? Is it just a merchandising thing? Am I overthinking this? You could sell a lot more DLC and toys and trading cards now that every character and form has a separate, unique kid version too. Maybe it's as simple as that. But I think it's such a shame that nearly 30 years after GT, they still couldn't really think of a great way to incorporate this concept. Maybe they'll figure it out in 20 years when they try it again. I'm not gonna go super in depth here. These are really just vibes. But reflecting back on the series as a whole, Daima is in so many ways like a movie. From the high quality animation, to the overall structure, the plot, and even the giant muscular final boss that everyone rushes in to attack all at once. While Daima absolutely delivered visually, blessing us with some of the best fights we've ever seen in all of Dragon Ball, for a variety of reasons, the story itself fell a bit short. It certainly fell short of the original story, which is honestly feeling more and more like an impossible bar to clear as we move further and further into the modern Dragon Ball era. Daima feels like an old school Dragon Ball movie written by Toriyama. An old school movie where the bad guy appears and bad things will happen unless the heroes beat the bad guy. So they go and beat the bad guy. There's no major twists and turns because we don't have the time to get that complex with the story being told. There's only enough there to fill about an hour. And that's what we see with Daima, except this isn't a movie. It's a 20-episode TV show. Gomah appears, he makes the wish, and now our heroes have to go to the demon realm to beat Gomah and turn back to normal. That's pretty much all there is to it, and Gomah, like most of the movie villains, is ultimately pretty dull and shallow. You're never given a great reason to hate him like we do with the legendary villains of the past. A deezed Gomah being the final boss is just about the most boring thing they could have done. Really? A big muscular dude? That shit might fly for the movies from the 90s, but this is Akira Toriyama we're talking about here. The expectations are higher than that. All the theory crafting about Neva or Duu being the final boss comes from a good place. This is the man that started the Android saga with this as the villain, and ended with this, with so many twists and turns along the way. Those twists were a defining feature of the original Dragon Ball story, and they're nowhere to be found in Daima. I don't think you necessarily need all the twists and turns to tell a good story, but it still comes down to Gomah simply not being that interesting. He goes to Earth, makes the wish, and then sits in his castle until Goku and friends show up to fight. Let's compare that to the first villain in DBZ. Raditz showed up, told Goku he's his brother and also he's an alien, then kidnapped his son, forcing Goku to team up with his greatest enemy. You see the difference between the two? Daima just didn't have that drama pushing the story forward. When you think about it, Gomah might be the nicest villain ever. Did he even kill anyone? Did he do anything that evil? Remember when Frieza did this to Krillin, and then did this to Krillin? What an asshole. Did Gomah even come close to that? He's closer to Pilaf than he is to Frieza. Heck, even Dabra, the Demon King that came before him, felt way more evil turning Krillin and Piccolo into stone like that. That shit was intimidating. Never for a second did Gomah even feel remotely intimidating. Clearly, the show is more comedic and lighthearted than the Z portion of the original story. But at the same time, they're also asking us to buy into Super Saiyan 4 Goku laying an absolute ass-whooping on this guy. This is pure DBZ style action, but we don't have the DBZ style villain to go with it, and I think that's a major problem. I found it really interesting to see how people have been reacting to Daima and the show's pacing. There seems to be two groups forming. One that claims the show was too long, it dragged. It took a movie's worth of material and stretched it out over 20 episodes, and they should have just cut out all the fat. This is the group that says the episode where they go to Planet Mega was filler and should have been cut entirely. Then you have the other group that I fall in, the group that sees what was here and feels it should have been fleshed out even more. 20 episodes wasn't enough to tell the best story possible with everything they set up. We needed far more time to tell a great old school Dragon Ball story. This group wanted more time on Planet Mega, make it a 3 or 4 episode mini arc, and give it some real importance instead of the mere single episode we got where we were just in and out. Or let's visit another weird planet in the demon realm and meet an entirely new race of people. I feel like we barely got to know Glorio, Pansy, Gomah, and Dagesu. Arinsu, Ku, and Duu definitely got the most shine of the new characters, but even they could have had more time dedicated to them. More silly adventures with Ku and Duu would have been great. So many major fights only lasted half an episode. Let's stretch them out and make things a little more dramatic, like the classic fights of DBZ. My old school Dragon Ball brain tells me a fight like Super Saiyan 4 Goku versus Gomah should have gone way longer than half of the final episode. I think back to Goku versus Frieza and Gohan versus Cell. But others will tell you the fight was too long, got repetitive, and could have been compressed even further. I think both viewpoints are totally valid. No matter which side of the fence you fall on, I think everyone can agree the show had pacing issues. But funny enough, instead of finding the perfect middle ground that will make everyone happy, the 20 episode format they ended up going with pleases no one. 20 episodes is too long for a movie-esque story with only 2 hours worth of material, and it's not long enough to really give us that proper Dragon Ball TV show feel either. So we end up with this strange final product here. A final product that simply isn't narratively satisfying the way we expect from Dragon Ball. In the end, Daima felt like a movie stretched into a full season of television. But despite all of those issues I just outlined, there is an undeniable charm here. For me, the pros outweigh the cons, and I loved watching this show every single week. I found myself so excited every Friday to watch the new episode and then write thousands of words for my review videos. Despite the narrative not being as strong as it should have been, there was obviously something there creating all of that excitement for me each and every week. I'm not quite sure what it was exactly. Maybe it was the Demon Realm being an awesome new part of the Dragon Ball universe that was so fun to explore. An utterly fascinating new area where anything could happen, and in only 20 episodes, introduced us to so many interesting creatures, characters, and places. Yet it also feels cozy at the same time. Maybe it was those Dragon Quest-y JRPG vibes present in the show from start to finish, creating a totally unique and fascinating feel for a Dragon Ball story. Maybe it was all these fun new characters we got to meet, characters I hope we come back to see again one day. Maybe it was all the laughs, courtesy of Hibis, Ku, and of course, horny Vegeta. Maybe it was Jaka-John being awesome and catchy as hell. Maybe it was all the world building and the new little tidbits of lore that had me busting out that 15-year-old super exciting guide to see if all the facts lined up just right. Maybe it really was just the god tier art and animation that carried things, and the excitement that came from this franchise finally looking the way it should, as opposed to the total garbage we had to put up with before. Maybe it's even simpler than that. Maybe it was just that special, intangible, one-of-a-kind Toriyama charm. Here, as I write this on the 1-year anniversary of his passing, I'm very sad, but also very thankful that he was able to give us this lighthearted, fun little adventure. If nothing else, for better or for worse, this show was pure Akira Toriyama from top to bottom, and maybe that's why I loved it so much. With that, we are going to wrap it up for today. I come out of Dragon Ball Daima wishing it was longer and there was more of it. I think that's a pretty good way to come out of a show, and probably a pretty good indication that I enjoyed it. One thing's for sure, watching and reviewing this show each week was such a pleasure. To sum everything up, I'll never read this part of Dragon Ball the same way ever again. If you like this video and want to see more Dragon Ball content, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. With Daima out of the way, I can finally fully focus on completing my feature-length GT video, which will now take into consideration the full Daima series and be up on the channel very soon. Speaking of GT, Daima is better than GT. It takes a steaming shit on GT. In so many ways, it's just a better version of GT, and no matter how bad you think Daima is, at least there was no Bruce Wave Machine, or robots magically being built in hell, or Dole Taki. I mean, my god, it's not even close. So, if you'll excuse me, it's time to enter that hyperbolic time chamber and finish this damn monster of a video. Step into the Grand Tour, jump onto the hype train. That GT video will be here very, very soon, and I think you'll like it. I've only been working on it for a year. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and all hail Ku and his glorious new regime.